Welcome to Forbidden Transformation. My name is Karen Holton, and I'm co-hosting with Mathieu of Forbidden Knowledge News. Our mission is to support and educate the people of Earth and to assist them to evolve and experience ET contact for themselves. In this way, we help to create and participate in the new positive timeline. In future episodes, we plan to offer more about our ET experiences, guests with common experiences and goals, more about the Quantum Health Transformation Program, and any relative news as it occurs. Chris, how you doing today?
Karen, hey, thank you so much for putting this together. I'm really happy to be co-hosting the show with you. It's a great way for us to share information, not only about our experiences and the information we've received from our contact, but this will go to kind of a more targeted audience, although when I told my story on Forbidden Knowledge News, I did get a great response. Most listeners were very supportive and open to the experience and information, which is very encouraging. It's also a great way for us to express information that we're still receiving, and how we got to the point where our lives are completely different. I know that mine, after my experience that I had the other day, my life is completely different, at least the way I look at everything and the way I feel about myself and my health and well-being. And I'm learning about some extraordinary possibilities when it comes to human consciousness and the hidden abilities that we have, which I've now experienced firsthand. And I'd love to share it with you because it's going to be a very important part of our future for us to learn about ourselves and these abilities that we have, not only so that we can thrive and succeed, but we can change the course of where this planet is going, because I guarantee you the course that it's currently going is not good. And if the people in charge of this have their way, it's going to get even worse. So we need to make moves now to change the way we see ourselves and our surroundings before we can even do anything. That is a very important message that I've received. And once I started implementing that in my life, I realized that that's truly the answer, is we have to start with ourselves. Before we get started, I would like to thank so much C60 Purple Power. This is an amazing super antioxidant that eliminates free radicals, and it has had a profound effect on my overall health and well-being, and I believe it is possibly connected in some way with improving my body and my health enough for my consciousness to have these experiences. So just click the link that we left in the description if you want to check out C60 Purple Power and all of its amazing health benefits. And Karen, thanks again so much for putting this together. I've been really looking forward to this.
Oh, my pleasure, Chris. Absolutely. And by the way, folks, I've started taking C60, and I saw how much better Chris was feeling and looking, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get on board with this. So I've been taking it now for not quite a week. I'm definitely noticing I have more energy, more clear in my thinking. So I really want to add a testimony to the experience with C60 Purple Power. I have a few more announcements before we get started. I know you're all chomping at the bit to hear the meat and potatoes of the stories that were the experiences that we're going to share with you today. I want to say this is a brand new show, folks. So please help us to reach everyone by liking, subscribing, and sharing this show with your friends and your family. We also have a brand new service called Intuitive Time with Karen and Chris, and that's available on my website. I also offer services to give you consultation and support for spiritual matters and your ET contact. And please support our work by purchasing Zendome's orgone generators. They're only found on my website, and all of the links to the things I've just announced will be in the description box below so that you can get a hold of us. So now I think it would be good for us just to move into our actual first contact experiences. And Chris, yours and mine are a little different, but there's some striking similarities as well. Why don't you start us off, take as much time as you want, and tell us about what happened for the folks that are just new to your experience, what happened, and how it developed and what's your takeaway from it.
All right. Well, thank you, Karen. Yes, I myself never expected anything like this to happen in my life. And although I've always been fascinated by ufology and paranormal and metaphysical phenomenon, I know probably deep down I've always wanted some type of experience, but I could never remember anything or that I definitely know offhand. But what I've experienced now has, like I said, it's changed everything. It's given me what I considered a kind of peaceful belief and confirmation about some of the things that I've wondered about and researched for years. And honestly, I still would be questioning those things if I wouldn't have experienced it for myself. And that's why I'd always done this show, is because I've always questioned everything and I wanted to find the truth. And this, with this experience, it's given me a whole new insight into everything that I do and the way I live my life and the phenomenon, the way I'm doing the show. It's been really the best thing that's happened to me so far in my life. And I think it's really going to propel everything that I do to kind of make myself better and want to help you guys to get to the point where you can help yourself and help others to become better as well. I know most of you have already known that I've, never had the experiences like this until recently. If you've ever seen Forbidden Knowledge News, I always talk about that. I've never even really seen a UFO until recently. It was a few weeks ago. I think it was close to 4 weeks ago now that I was actually just going through a rough time in my life. And by the way, I am going to be reading, because this is such a long and so much information that I've received through these experiences. I've written down everything, so I don't leave anything out. But I was going through kind of a rough period in my life, breakup, and just at the time, at this moment in my life, it was an actually very rough moment. And I looked up into the sky and I saw what looked like three bright orange flames that were just going straight up in the sky. They were in a triangular formation, and they were going at moderate speed, and I just couldn't get my eyes off of this thing. I'd never seen anything like it. And I was so mesmerized, of course, I forgot to get my phone out, camera, take a picture. But as soon as I'm thinking about, wow, what is this? It just shoots straight up into the air and disappears. Now, although it was pretty extraordinary for me to witness this, I still couldn't prove that it's a real UFO. It could have been anything. Hey, it could be swamp gas, You never know what's in the skies. It could be military. But I just kind of brushed it off. But I was kind of excited, like maybe it was a UFO. I've also, around this same time, actually, oddly enough, after I started taking C60 for a couple of months, I started experiencing many strange synchronicities. And I can't say that's definitely connected, but I know that I wanted a change in my life. I know that I was striving to make changes in my life, and I was striving to have a better understanding of myself and everything. And that was my goal at this time, is to just find out who I was and where I needed to go. And I just started experiencing these strange events, strange synchronicities, thinking of a person and they would call, thinking of a song and it would play. I'd be saying something and the person on the television would say the same thing at the same time. Just strange things that would occur. I couldn't ignore them. Certain numbers showing up all the time. I'd also been trying to meditate lately, and I had always reached a block in meditation because I guess I was always afraid to go past a certain point from, childhood dogma, religious dogma that you grew up with, saying that meditation is bad or anything like that. I guess that was kind of a block for me. It was, I have the date here, Saturday, August 15th, around 3 p.m., I decided to meditate and just lose that fear. And I did, started meditating, and I'm really not sure the time frame of everything to follow, but I was in a complete relaxed meditative state within minutes, and I began to experience what only felt and looked like I was traveling through periods of time, and I was so relaxed at this point. I was just kind of laying there going through this like I was watching a movie. It looked like I was going through ancient Egypt, Rome, and then more modern time periods. And after that, I saw beautiful geometric shapes and started to receive so much information. I mean, I can't even describe. I was being bombarded with, it seemed like information about everything, everyone, everything in the universe at the same time. And I didn't know what to make of it, but I knew it was just profound information coming to me. And it only lasted for a few seconds. Then after that, out of the right peripheral of my meditative state here, I saw this blue bright light, and it was getting closer to my unconscious vision. And as it was getting closer, I kept getting these profound feelings of love. The closer it get, the more of this sheer feeling of love that I have never felt before. And it was honestly something that I can only call unearthly. It was a brand new type of love that I've never experienced before. It's very hard to describe unless you can feel this yourself. It was one of the best feelings that I've ever had in my life. And then this, what I can only say is, an entity began to communicate, and the communication was completely psychic. I would get a response from this entity almost as soon or right as I would finish my question, it would seem. I've talked to myself plenty of times, and this was not me talking to myself. I've never received such beautiful feelings of love, and the communication was kind of like imagery and emotions and feelings that would be converted into language that I could understand. And it just kept sending me these feelings, and it would tell me that everything is going to be okay. It kept saying everything would be okay. And I kind of realized that, okay, I'm talking to an entity other than myself, and I start to get really nervous, and I revert back to my childhood Catholic background, and I kind of ask it, in the name of Jesus Christ, are you good? And it felt like it kind of laughed in a happy way and said, yes. It said, I'm your Arcturian guardian, or as some say, guardian angel. And we've always been a part of you. We've always been with you. We are with everyone. My name is Laird. And I was overwhelmed with this happiness and love from this being. I kept telling it how great it felt to meet him and be in his presence and speak with him. And it replied back, it was great to speak with you and meet you. And I told it, how much I liked talking with it like this. It was a great form of communication that I've never experienced before, and it felt good to be able to talk like that. And then I just opened my eyes, because I'm not sure, I don't even really know why. I know I had to use the bathroom. I opened my eyes to get up, and everything around me just has this kind of glow to it. It looks a little different, but I'm still feeling this extreme love, and I'm not in this meditative state, or I don't think I am. And I'm walking to the bathroom, and this entity's still communicating with me. And it continues to, as I'm walking around my house, and I go back to my room, and I was like, okay, this is cool talking to you. And he told me that he had some information. And I said, okay, well, if it's anything really bad or scary, could you hit me slow with it? Take your time. And I just got this sense that that was a no, that this information needed to come out. And I'm still processing all the information, of course, and I'm still receiving information, although not in the same way as these initial contact experiences. And I'll get into that later, how I'm still receiving the information. But he went on to explain that these are beings that spread Christ consciousness across the cosmos. And they come to those that are ready to receive their message. And he went on to say that our planet is in great trouble right now, that there is a terrible evil and things are been in motion that are going to bring about a really terrible future. I saw, terrible images, population reduction, enslavement, terrible technology that's on its way and already here, actually. Um, and these people have been dealing with um, basically the wrong type of entities that have been giving them this information for thousands of years on how to use these powers, this ancient knowledge for bad, basically. He showed me past lifetimes. He showed me, but it's very complicated because time doesn't exist like we perceive it, and we are also a collective consciousness, so we all experience each other's lives. I'm still, putting everything together, what happened, but it was so profound, the information that I was getting. He told me we all have a part to play in this current time period. All of us, everyone listening, all of you, and that we need as many people to wake up and come together and fight this evil that's coming upon us before it's too late. He showed me that this is my weapon. This is my job. That I have to spread information to help others to realize what's going on. But the main message was that we are lacking. The planet is being extinguished of love and empathy, and it's intentionally been that way for a while. And we need to remind people that that's the important things in life. That's what makes us human. And when we don't have that, what are we? We're intentionally being transformed into something that's not human. And that's the idea. For some reason, whatever these entities that are in control of the negative side don't like the compassionate, loving human side, and they want to get rid of it. But I've also been told that there's many of you that already know this, that know that we need to come together to form a solution, and that we just need to start opening our minds, our eyes, and our hearts, and just come together to try and, we all need to do our part. If you're good at something, do it for good. If you feel like you need to say something, say it. Just start doing a little more action in your own lives, and I think we can all do our part to make a little difference. But I have a lot more insight into this phenomenon now, and I was told a few people who to contact about my contact experience, and Karen was the first. And that's what I did. I contacted her that night, actually while I was still in communication with this being, and she gave me great insight and understanding and advice on how to go forward. And Karen, I want to thank you again so much for that first phone call. Without you there, I don't know if I would even be telling this story right now. So thank you again for that.
Oh, my pleasure, Chris. I'm just wondering if there's any questions coming in from the chat about your experience.
No questions yet, but I do have some very good comments. Thank you, everyone in the chat. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat, and we'll get to those as we go. I'll be checking along the way. But,
wonderful. So it's my pleasure to be there for you, Chris. And now you and I are going to be there for the others that are going to come forward. And do you want to go on a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go ahead and finish my my experiences here. So later on that night, the connection started to fade, and by the next day, it was almost completely gone. Occasionally, I get feelings of that presence, of that loving presence. And the rest of the day went on, and the connection just kept fading. It was gone by, now it's Tuesday, and I'm doubting everything. Seriously, that happened. I'm just telling myself, that's probably all in my head. I'm just crazy. But I need some kind of proof. This was very profound, so I need to do it again. So I decided to meditate again, and this time with 432 hertz tones in the background. And with the tones playing, I went very quickly into a deeper state of meditation. And I just started wondering about some missing time experiences as a child. And within a few minutes, this time from my left peripheral, I saw a beautiful white light in the shape of what looked to me like Mat or Maat, the Egyptian goddess of harmony, justice, and truth, but as pure white that enveloped my consciousness. And I was, after I didn't get the same loving feeling. It was just more of an imagery. And I was, as soon as the white kind of wore off, I was back at back in time at a childhood family friend's home. And I proceeded to remember and replay a traumatic event that happened to me as a child. And I snapped out of my meditation, very disturbed and very panicky. I was in a very bad place after having unlocked this memory and re-experienced it sort of. And then I felt the presence of love again, and then it's layered, and he proceeds to comfort me and remind me about our previous conversation. And I was still in a very bad place, kind of about to have a panic attack. And he told me that, in the way that we've been communicating in this psychic way, that I should try and go in the water and meditate. You've always liked water, and water is somewhat of a conduit. Go meditate in the tub. So that's what I did. I went lay down in the tub, and I started to calm down, and before I really start meditating, I just closed my eyes and I'm asking him, tell me a bit more about your people and about what you do and about your race. And he told me to just relax and receive information like I'm watching a movie. And he said, we hunt for planets to see life. And all of a sudden I felt like the room and my state of consciousness completely changed. It was very hard to describe. Everything felt different. I opened my eyes again. Everything had this slight glow again. But this time I closed my eyes, and this was the experience that really shook me up and changed a lot in my life. And I honestly wouldn't believe it if it hadn't happened to me. But I closed my eyes, and I'm on what I can only describe as an enormous ship with massive windows looking out in what appeared to be space. I saw mostly darkness outside the windows, and they were separated by smaller frames. The whole ship was this blue-gray type of color, a darker blue, grayish type of color. And then I felt multiple presences surrounding me. This ship had multiple levels, and I start to look around, and I can see entities, and these entities are sending me just as much love, of this feeling of love as Lair did, and I can feel it coming from multiple angles. And I don't know how else to describe the entities, but they look like Star Wars characters. They look like etheric beings, aliens. I saw a mantis being. I saw this hairy creature. I saw tall beings. I saw very small, tiny beings. In fact, I looked to the left, and there was this. Every time I say it, it sounds so crazy, but it's what I saw. It's this little frog guy. He looked like a frog, standing on his two legs. He was a bipedal frog, and he said, "Welcome." And this part, it still gets me every time he said, "Welcome to the Galactic Federation. You're a member." And the love in them, when he said that, everything kind of just all hit me so powerfully. I started crying. And honestly, no matter how many shows I used to do about people who claim to have interaction with the Galactic Federation, I never really accepted it. I was always very skeptical. I always had my doubts about those type of experiences, but that's what I experienced. And so now I'm I can open my eyes and I see my bathtub and bathroom surroundings, and I close my eyes and there's these beings surrounding me. Um, I didn't get any names. I was just looking around, taking in these feelings of love, and it was a very emotional experience. I don't know how else to describe these feelings that I was getting. And this being said, he asked me if I accept my, I don't remember exactly how it said it, if I accept my duty on this planet to protect and help bring about a different future. And it wasn't those words exactly, but I immediately said yes. It felt like these beings around me were extremely happy and sending more feelings of love. Um, and then I'm like, okay, I'm on a ship, so can I go home anytime? They said, yes, you can go anytime. You can also come back anytime. Uh, now that you've been here, you can come back whenever you want. Um, and I was like, okay, so I just keep looking around and taking on all this, these strange etheric beings that I've only heard about from other experiencers and seen what looked like on science fiction shows. These beings weren't physical; they were very etheric, and they appeared to be interdimensional in a way. Although they could possibly have physical forms somewhere else. Um, and I said to the beings, okay, I'm ready to go home. And I could feel just a shift, and I opened my eyes, and everything's normal again. And I can feel Laird there, and he says, how did you like that shit? I started laughing, and I'm still so happy. And I realize I have to go do shopping, so I'm in the car, and the whole time I'm just getting these downloads, this information about abilities that humans have that we need to tap into, and the future that we could have. And I'm getting all this wonderful information. But eventually, again, the connection fades, and by the end of the night, it was gone again. And I'm trying to sleep that night, tossing and turning all night, and trying to process everything. And the next day, I just had such a bad day. I was very tired. I felt like I was just feeling everything more raw. I felt like I could feel everyone's bad day. But I was still, kind of excited about what happened. Part of me was still doubting, but I just knew that day was a bad day for me, and I just felt very different. And it was difficult to get through the day. And then on my way home, I make a mistake of getting a pizza. Now, I've had stomach problems for years after a surgery for gallbladder that I probably shouldn't have. That puts me out for hours, sometimes even a whole day, where I can't move and I'm in such pain. Uh, and this was one of those days after I ate the pizza. I was out. I was in bed. I couldn't move. Extreme pain. Probably on track to be in pain for hours. And I decide to test this and see what's real. And I was still kind of pissed off at myself for eating the pizza, and I said, all right, so if you're real, why don't you go ahead and heal me? And I'm just, in agony and pain, and I feel the loving feeling, and Laird tells me, you can do that yourself. And I just closed my eyes. I got the feeling to close my eyes and relax, just relax. And as soon as I was able to relax my body enough to lay straight and close my eyes and relax, for about 10 seconds, I'm on this ship again. I can feel the presence. I can feel this love. And all of a sudden, I open my eyes, and the pain's gone. It's completely gone. And I got the sense that Laird told me. He says, you have the ability to hear yourself. You did that yourself. We're here to help you realize this. And I felt great the rest of the night. And for me, that was my confirmation that even if it, okay, so say it wasn't real, say it was all in my mind. Isn't it the best placebo effect ever that we can heal ourselves with our own mind? Although I do believe it was a real experience. I do believe what I experienced was genuine. Either way, it's fascinating to see what the powers of our mind can do if we can heal ourselves, indeed. But it was my confirmation that we live in a multidimensional reality. There are angelic, loving beings around us at all times. We each have our own team, and we can meet them if we want to. If we really do, and we reach a certain point with our, I guess, consciousness and what we want out of our lives, we can do that, and we can do whatever we want. But we have a lot of work to do to fix the situation this planet is in. So we really need to, I would love for everyone to get in touch with those abilities. And something else I just want to say before I turn it over to you, Karen, is I haven't had many meetings with Laird since then, because he told me that the information that I'm going to be receiving and I have access to now, that I always have, I just tapped into it, is information that we get from ourselves, from our higher selves, that we have access to everything, all this information about everything in the world already. We just have to learn how to access it. And I've gained that access to a part of that, and I'm in no way state that I am in any amount of control of it yet, because the information comes sporadically and I don't know how to properly control when and how I receive the information. But I do have access to something that I didn't before, and I am receiving a lot of information. I'm also at the same time trying to communicate with my higher self, like I was told to do, to receive this information and continue to better my health and my life, and help people around understand what's really going on. Because I have access to information from a lot of people that are on my show, and sharing the information is one of the most important things that I can do right now to help our situation. And that was it. That was my experience, Karen. Thank you for letting me tell it.
Oh, it's an incredible experience. And I, since you went public with it, Chris, I've had so many emails and messages from people saying that they've had the same experiences, but they didn't know who to tell or what to do with it. And so I just feel this is just the best possible time for us to come out and share our information. But before I get on with my experience, I'm wondering if there's any questions from the chat that maybe we need to address at this point. If there's anything
let's see. Yes. The question I have is from Cosmic Gypsy. Karen or Chris, do you have any thoughts on an incoming planetary system, Nibiru? Well, you want to go first on that one, Karen?
Yeah, I tell you, I always perceive several different timelines. And so on one of those timelines, Nibiru is very real, very close, and it could be quite catastrophic. But that's not the dominant timeline, but it is a timeline. So that's my take on it. I think we actually have bigger fish to fry on this planet, dealing with the elites and what's happening to all of us, to be too worried about Nibiru. Now there's also timeline, there's actually, every timeline is a fractal and it splits off into other timelines. The future's not fixed, thank goodness for that. And so there is also a timeline involving Nibiru, which involves extraterrestrials who know us well, know about the planet well, and are coming for, there's a timeline that's positive and a timeline that's negative. So really, I can't give you anything for sure, but that's just my take on it. How about you, Chris?
Well, I'm coming to see more and more that we do have multiple timelines that we could go down, and I honestly believe that we can control those with our thought processes and the way our feelings and our fears. I think that we draw a lot of negative events from our own fears of it and perpetuating the event with our consciousness. I'm coming to believe more and more that we have a very profound effect on our future and some events that could happen with our collective consciousness. Now, when it comes to Nibiru, I used to definitely think that it was going to be in our lifetime that we would see this planet or a cataclysmic event would happen. Now I see it as another possibility, just like you said, but I don't see that as an immediate threat because I believe we would be seeing a lot more of a lot more climate chaos, a lot more things happening on our planet with the natural disasters. And the amount of amateur astronomers we have right now looking out into the skies that we're trying to find this thing is ridiculous. We've had more now than we ever had people looking for this thing now. So I think if we have to worry about it, our community would be the first to know. And if I thought it was a threat, I would definitely start talking about it more on my shows. But like Karen said, I think we have bigger things to worry about that right now.
I would agree. And before I forget everybody, it's Chris's birthday, and he still came out to do the show for everybody. And I just want to say, Chris, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No problem. So should we go on to my experience, or is there a few more questions?
I don't, no more questions. You can go.
Okay. Well, my experience happened quite a while ago. I've actually had experiences all my life, but I always embedded myself into fundamentalist Christian religion, which really, really, really did not want to encourage any of that kind of talk. In fact, scared the hell out of me with stories of demons and everything else, similar to, how you were raised, Chris, how a lot of us were raised. But I left religion in the early 1990s, and it wasn't long after that I had a profound angelic experience. Now, at the time, my life was not going well. I had left a shunning religion. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 17 years. When I left, I lost everybody. I lost all my support, all my community. I left everything, but I just couldn't do it anymore. So there was that. And then I, as most people know, I raised my children as a single mom, and I had a few issues to deal with. Who doesn't in life? And my husband had asked if the children could go and live with him and his wife, because he basically tried to convince me I wasn't a very good mother. I was, but that's another story. And I'm telling you this just as a sort of backstory so that you can understand that I had a terrific amount of grief and a terrific amount of sadness, because my children were everything to me. They still are. And they went to live with their dad, and promises of letting them stay in contact with me were not held. And so I went for 6 months without having contact with my children, and it was absolutely devastating. So that is just sort of the position I was in. Now I moved into a small rental, and I'm an extremely energetically sensitive person. And unbeknownst to me, the man that had lived in that rental before me had committed suicide. And he did it a very specific way. And I picked up the imprint from him. And I started to be obsessed with offing myself in the very same way that this man had. Now, just for the record, I didn't know about this at that time. It wasn't until 2 years later, I met a woman who was friends with another woman, and it was her son who had committed suicide. And so it took 2 years for me to have validation about what happened. Anyway, I was experiencing enormous amounts of grief and sadness I was worried sick about my children. I knew things were not going well for them. I knew intuitively, but I couldn't at that point do anything about it. I was becoming obsessed with offing myself and was actually going to do it. And I went to bed that night, just totally giving up on the world and everything. Sorry, I get a little bit emotional because it was a tough time for me. And all of a sudden, I had this explosive vision. And I saw angels, and they were like points of light. And they all spoke together in one voice. So it was like 1,000 voices all speaking as just one voice. And they reached out to me and they said, Karen, if you want to go, you can go. We have exit points, each one of us in our lives, that we can take if we need to. But if you want to go on living, and we encourage you to, we will supply a helper for you. And I was so blown away by this experience. It was huge. I had never experienced anything that extreme or that vibrant before. And I asked who the angel was, and it was Gabriel, the archangel of God. So archangels and angels are very real, folks, very, very real. And just like we can't see the internet, we may not be able to see them, but they're there and they care about us. So I was offered a gift, and I was so overwhelmed by the experience, I couldn't choose my gift. I had to think about it. I mean, who gets offered gifts by angels? I mean, wow. And so I thought about it for a few days. I decided not to off myself. I was out walking and trying to sort myself out. And I was thinking, what gift do I want? What gift do I want? And I thought about all kinds of gifts. I thought about money. I thought about, prestige. I thought about fame. I thought about all the different things that would give me the perceptions of power, because I had felt very powerless in my life. And one day I realized, it was only a couple of days later, I wanted wisdom, because I knew that if I had wisdom, that I could do all the things I wanted to do while I was alive. And for those of you also who haven't known me before, I was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. My family made a lot of fun mocking me, making fun of me. I had a very difficult time with simple things like learning to tell time. I still have trouble telling time today. I knew I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I've always had a very kind heart. I've been taken advantage of an awful lot because I'm naive. And I needed wisdom. Because without it, I didn't think I'd survive, and I certainly didn't think I'd be able to have good purpose on this earth. So it was very interesting how that played out in the coming years, because it was only like a year later, I was taking college courses and I was acing them. And I'm basically a functional non-reader. I can read, but I get so hung up on the meanings of the words, I don't generate any kind of a visual picture, which is what most people do when they read. They get a visual imaginary picture of what's going on. Me, I'm stuck on the words and the meaning of the words and trying to make meaning out of what I'm reading. So it was very interesting. Then I went on to university. So I spent 5 years in higher education. Acing it blew me away. It did a lot for my self-esteem, but it blew me away. Anyway, there was some good stuff that happened and some terrible stuff that happened. Another thing they had asked me, which was strange, but it's my experience, was they said, Karen, would you like the quick method or would you like the slow method? And I went, I want the quick method. So what happened was I had these amazing, some terrible and some good experiences that hastened my training, because this is all about our training for soul development, not to mention making an impact and doing the work that I had chosen to do. That's why I'm here, and that I had pre-birth agreements. And I sure as hell didn't want to leave this life until I'd at least given it a really good try to make good on those agreements. I took my life very seriously. And so that's how it started with me. But within everything, much like Chris, I have access anytime I want to have access. They're always there. And the answers come before you even get the questions formulated. And once we get to a certain point of personal and spiritual evolution, it gets easier and easier. And one last thing I want to say is it seems to be more about stripping off what isn't us and discovering what really is. It's more that than it is learning specific skills or practicing certain things. It's more about stopping or deconstructing what isn't us, the lies and the programs and the psychological warfare that, and so that's how it started out for me. Now, the extraterrestrial experiences, I won't get into today. Those will come out in as we share our experiences over time. But that's where it all started for me. And the biggest takeaway I have from that is that we're all trying to do stuff on our own. And we're trying to do things the way the construct has told us to do it. Oh, if you do this, and if you try really hard, and if you this and that, things will go well with you. Well, I'm going to call bullshit on that, because the reality in my experience has been to step out of that, because we're great creative beings. We have help. We have unseen help and seen help. And so, I mean, it's great. It's just a great thrill for me. You know, this is like close to 30 years later, coming to fruition, meeting other people that have had experiences very much like mine and like Chris's. And now it's time for us to gather. It's a gathering time. And for me, that's just the best time ever.
Yeah, that's awesome, Karen. And I agree 100% with what you said about the social programming. We are definitely in under the midst of the largest psychological warfare campaigns I think that has ever come. I think this is end game right now. But the programming that we've received our whole lives is what's hindering us now. I mean, you've been told your whole life that we're just a meat suit, that you wake up every morning, you go to your job, you make your money, you watch your sporting events, drink your beer, and then go to bed and then repeat it, and then that's your life. But that's not what your life is supposed to be. At least I know that's not what my life is supposed to be. And it's not till just recently that I've come to realize that, and that all this material thing that the material things that we've come to basically they've come to own us, and they've come to basically define who we are, our material possessions, and the things that we're really worried about on a daily basis, other than who and what we really are. But that's not you. It's hiding and suppressing what your true potential really is. It's a bunch of distractions, so we don't look at that. Because what happens when we look at who we and what we really are and our capabilities, and we start to realize them and practice them, that makes some people shit in their pants. Because what we have is very strong and very powerful, and if a bunch of us know how to do that, that's just a portion of the things that they were taught through mystery schools or their secret societies that they belong to, the powers of human mind, they're mostly using it for their manipulation and for evil purposes with a very limited potential. If you access your own powers, it's unlimited potential. If you're using it for good, and then for things that aren't going to destroy the planet, you have a lot more power. And that's what they're terrified of, is us unlocking these abilities, unlocking this power within us that we have. And they're terrified of us realizing this and starting to explore it. And I think that's the answer, is to put aside the material world at least long enough to see that there is something going on behind the surface, beneath the surface. And once you see it, you can't look back. You can't go back the other direction. Once you see what's under there and you see the potential, you're going to want more of it. And there's no going back after that. So yeah, I'd have to agree with that 100%.
Was there any questions in the chat, Chris?
Any questions? I do not have any questions now. And again, if you guys want to leave any questions in the chat, please feel free. I will read them as you put them in there.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now we've told the folks a little bit about our initial experiences. That's why we called the episode 1 Beginnings. And we're hoping it's going to be a beginning for all of you as well. Chris and I have a few objectives, and I want to just talk a little bit about what to expect. And Chris, please feel free to add anything I may have forgotten.
Sure, of course.
And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have the Forbidden Transformation show bi-weekly, which means every 2 weeks at this point. It'll be on Sundays at 12 noon Pacific, 1 o'clock Mountain, and 2 o'clock Central Time. And you can find it on my YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/C/Karen Holton TV. We now offer consultation and support services. So, and all the links will be below. You can actually book some time with Chris and I, and we will talk to you about, hear what's going on for you. And we can offer intuitive insights from our guides to help you with your journey. We also hope in the future to form a Facebook group that will offer peer-to-peer support. And if you are interested in being a part of that, please let us know. And also we will need moderators because Chris is very busy. He's got his own shows. He works full time. I work. I've got my home-based business. I've got my own shows. We're only 2 people trying to do all of this. And so moderators are really important before we establish the group. We also hope to add a phone-in component to the show in the future, in the near future, and we will be multi-streaming it to many popular platforms. And a big part of all of this is we want to hear your experiences. So when we have the phone-in component, we want you to call in and tell us how it's going for you. Tell us about the amazing experiences that you've had, paranormal experiences that are leading you to a better life, to a richer life, to a more spiritual life. And by the way, folks, this has nothing to do with religion. Chris and I are not forming a cult. We're not forming an organization. We're not even, besides a peer-to-peer support Facebook group, we're really not leaders or we just don't want to start a cult because as we've mentioned before, this power lies within you. You don't answer to anybody. You are sovereign within your own self. You can have these experiences. If you want to maintain your present religion, do it. If you want to, nobody's going to be looking at you and critiquing your life. That's your job. Just like Chris and I can't do the work for you. We can give you support, suggestions. We can do all kinds of things like that. We are going to be offering a few other things. I'll get into that near the end.
Karen, I do have a question from the chat. Immis Mom is wondering, do downloads come as full knowing the moment you wonder about something? Now, I know for me that it'll come quickly, but I have to unpack it for a while. Any information that I receive, it comes really quick, but it stays there in my subconscious, in my mind, and it kind of unfolds as the day goes along. That's at least the way it works for me. How about you, Karen?
I would say that I receive messages and downloads. I class them a little differently. I'm able to connect with my guides at any time. All I have to do is create sacred space, which is basically the same thing as a bit of a meditative state where I let go of my own will and my own thinking and open it up to the field. And I can connect anytime, and I will just get answers all the time for anything I want to know.
Yeah,
Even
I'd love to be able to
discussions.
do that because right now it's just whopping me. I'll be, going about my day, eating dinner, and boom, this information just comes, and I'm like, I gotta get a notepad and write something down here. But yeah, I'd love to be able to have that kind of control over the information.
Well, you absolutely will. That's coming. And I think that's why I had my experience close to 30 years before you're having yours, so that I can be a map maker. I can say, I've been down that route, and this is how it was for me. It might not be the same for you, but it'll take a lot of the, the not knowing what's going on and the overwhelm. In the beginning, there is a fair amount of overwhelm. So I classify that different than a download. Now, when I get a download, it's instant, and it's a tremendous amount of information. And to be honest with you, in my experience, it led me to a reclusive lifestyle, because there's just no way I can deal with people and drama and all of those things and interactions and deal with my download. So for instance, one of the things that we're going to be teaching you in time is the excerpts from the Quantum Health Transformation Program, which is already up and on YouTube and on my website. The links will all be below. And that program took me about 2 years to unpack, and I received it in an instant. So I would say for me, downloads are a little bit different than just inside my mind conscious conversations. And I still get them. In fact, what Chris and I are also going to do is at the end of every show we do, we're going to offer our downloads and our insights and our messages that we've gotten from our guides from the previous week or 2 weeks, so that we're keeping you really current on the intel that we're receiving. So I would say the downloads, tell me, Chris, what about you? You get a download. Doesn't it take some time to unpack it?
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. You get a whole bunch of information instantaneously, and it gets stored in my mind, and then it kind of unfolds as I think about it throughout the day. That's the way it works for me.
Yep, that's how it works for me too. But the unpacking of it can take years. So as you go through your life, it's almost like sometimes I get an overlay where I have my 3-dimensional reality as I perceive it with my usual senses. And it's almost like there's an overlay where as I'm going about my everyday mundane life, the learning is unpacking, and I'm seeing examples of what I perceived in my download. So that's the other thing, folks. We don't have a conversation in English. We get a combination of very highly abstract concepts, feelings, body sensations, spontaneous knowings. See, this is our birthright. All of us have this. It's just whether or not we want to open up to it. And millions of us are having these experiences. This isn't just Karen and Chris, millions of us. And that's why we want to help unlock your potential in whatever we can, like in whatever ways we can. So you are sovereign. You are your own everything. The universe is inside of you. And I'll tell you a little neat trick is you can go anywhere you want through the inside. So you don't need to get on a spacecraft and travel out to Alpha Centauri and be in some kind of a stasis pod for 10,000 years to get there. No, we don't do any of that. We go inside the whole unit. There's a copy of everything inside. And that's how we access where we want to go, be it off-world, be it in-world, anything we want. And we also will be taught, you'll be taught, because Chris and I are being taught, and I'm always being taught, how to do a combination of lucid dreaming with remote viewing. And it's so cool. I can go to the big ship. I do all kinds of ambassador work on the big ships, and I can go there, and they know I'm there. I'm not there in my body, but I'm there, and they know I'm there. And I'm welcomed with the same kind of love and compassion that Chris experienced when he was aboard ship. And Chris and I may not even be aboard the same ships, although there is a lot of striking similarities between what we see on the ships. I did a full presentation on Forbidden Knowledge News, the convention, the con, Chris, when was that? In February or March?
That was May, I believe.
In May. It's like I said, time's a slippery slope for me. So, and that's still available on forbiddenknowledge.news. Is that
That's
right?
it, forbiddenknowledge.news.
.news online if anyone's interested. And my presentation is on day 4 along with Laura Eisenhower and some other amazing presenters. If you want to download the conference presentations. And also I'm doing a series coming up on, sorry, I should put this maybe in announcements. I'm going to be doing a series with Alfred Lambremont Webre on exopolitics on his YouTube channel, where I'm going to be going through and unpacking that presentation in great detail. So that's coming too. So those are ways that you can, hook into or link into Chris and my experiences. And it certainly is going to give you really a lot of food for thought. And yeah, so I'm just going to turn it over to you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm very
that.
excited about that. I'm looking forward to just sharing the information that I get, because it's a lot for me to even still understand what's happening right now. But I know that the information I'm getting now, I didn't know before. If I did, I didn't know I knew. But it's very fascinating the way everything's happening now. I do have a couple of other questions if you want to take them. Let's see. Tay Battle asks, hello, Chris and Karen. She would like to ask, what star system and constellation are your galactic guides from? Karen, that's for you. And for me, she would ask if I could tell them something interesting about their culture. Now, for this, I have to preface it with a couple of things. I've only had a couple of initial meetings with Laird and these beings on the ship. After that, I was specifically told that for information, I have to rely on my higher self and my intuition and my own meditation and things like this to receive the information, that I have the control over that now. I will no longer need them, although I can access them at any time. Now, from what I was told in my first initial few meetings, is these are extremely advanced beings, so advanced beyond anything you could probably understand as a human being. They don't have a normal culture like you would think about it, and their directive is to help life on different planets, to seed life on different planets, and then bring Christ consciousness to those lives on that planet. And I believe that is what they are all about. That they're extremely advanced beings, completely. I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't believe there's any physicality of these beings left. I think that they're mostly non-corporeal beings. That's just the sense that I get. But they're extremely advanced, and they have possibly made themselves that way after thousands of years of advancement. I don't know that much about them, but that's what I do. That is what I learned and what I know about.
Mm-hmm. Well, my experience is a little different. All of our experiences will be a little different because, first of all, we're using our very limited human abilities to downstep this information and turn it into language to share with all of you. And so we're making the best use of a very limited communication style, being language, to share our experiences with you. So again, more about the beings and the culture of the beings on my presentation on Forbidden Knowledge News Con. Again, you can go there and download it. I also have quite a few videos. The playlist is called The Fringe View, and it has quite a lot about my experiences. So I'm not going to take up a lot of time on this show for that. But one thing I will say, my experiences with them. Some are non-corporeal and some of them are definitely physical. So I've been involved in a group who have an intergalactic resettlement program. And they do that. They're very physical beings. Now, on the one hand, we don't use language. We communicate psychically. And again, as Chris said, these beings are so advanced. We have hard time even recognizing what's going on because it's so foreign to us. But these beings, they definitely have culture. They definitely have physicality. But the group that I interface with, they don't have Earth language names or identities. So so a couple of facts I'll just give you is, first of all, the big ship that I mostly go to is beings who have immigrated to the ship from other ships and there is an interbreeding program. It's not regulated, but it is documented. And these beings have interbred with each other, and over thousands of years, they don't belong to any specific star cluster within our galaxy or even which galaxy we're from. They live their whole lives on these big ships. And their lives, by the way, are about 500 to 1,000 years. They don't have little puny lifetimes like us. They're much longer. And their job is, much like what Chris's beings told him, they reseed planets and they spread Christ consciousness and they open us up to Christ consciousness because it's the only thing that works. The universe, I'm just going to tell you the truth. The universe, the true universe, multiverse, omniverse functions on the love harmonic. Now you can actually measure the frequency of love. It's a frequency. It's a harmonic, and everything operates within that harmonic. And so everything is do no harm, everything is harm reduction, everything is respect for life. It's a very beautiful, beautiful environment. I'm going to tell you, it's really tough to come back to the 3D world and, do your dishes and interact with your neighbors after having experiences like this. And so first of all, they don't use Earth language. Second of all, this is an intergalactic group. Third of all, there's much interbreeding and, the mixing of different groups. Because you see, we all belong to the same species. We're just different races. Now on Earth, we're part of the human race. We're part of the human race within a species. And out there, you might have other different kinds of beings that are also humanoids. They look very much like us, the beings that I have interaction with. I don't want to get into the whole thing because it's in the presentation and it's going to be coming up over and over again, and it would also certainly side rail our presentations for today. But there are people on Earth who are really familiar with, say, reptilians, Anunnaki, even Arcturians. Well, I'm not an expert in any of those things. I don't deal with the beings that have interactions historically with planet Earth. These beings are spiritual and we work within a spiritual dynamic. So unfortunately, I can't answer your question, but that's as close as I can get.
I'm sure that works. Well, Karen, what else do we have on our itinerary for today that we would like to discuss?
Well, I hate to say this, Chris, but we have good news and we have some bad news. And so it's very difficult for us to share some of this information with everybody, but I just feel it's part of our job and it's really important. So when we're done with the questions, Chris, I think we should move into the downloads that we received that we're supposed to share with humanity. And I'm wondering, do you have a question, Chris?
Yeah, I will take one more question here. Okay. Claudette is asking, she's tried to connect with her guides. She needs help with it. Anything she can try. Now, the only thing I can tell you is what I've done myself. And I was not expecting it to happen this way. It's just what I did. I lost my fear of meditation and I went deeper and I was able to relax enough to let my fear go and to let my mind go where it needed to go. I think it's once you let go and just go with it, I think it's when it happens when it's supposed to happen. And if you want it to happen and you're in the right mindset, I also think it has to do with your body's health and well-being at the time. I think you have to be in pretty good health. That's just my own experience. I was in terrible health before, but I started improving it myself. I think that you have to take a lot of initiative in some of the things you might be afraid of doing in your life that you may know you have to do to contact these beings deep down inside, and kind of go with that gut feeling, because that's what I did. I didn't know it, but I knew it. I knew what I had to do. I knew what I had to stop doing. I knew the changes I had to make in my life. It was very intuitive, but deep down I knew what I had to do to get in contact with what you could call my guides, or these entities, or my higher self. I just kind of let it happen, let go of a lot of fear, and kind of made the moves that I knew intuitively I had to get there. And that was just my experience.
And I would certainly agree with you, Chris, but I would also add, just to flesh out a few points, I would say, yes, meditation, reaching out with a sincere desire, speaking, just like you were speaking to someone in a room, but you're alone and you're speaking to your guides. Reach out to them, tell them you want to hear from them, that you're ready, that you want that. But the other thing, I agree with Chris, you need to be able to hold the frequency. And in order to do that, you have to pay attention to the body temple. You have to pay attention to your level of health. And so that's why we are going to be bringing you more information on the Quantum Health Transformation Program. Now, this is completely free. It's available on my website. It's available on YouTube, and all the links will be below. And it will take you through 9 steps. And I'll just briefly go over them. The first 3 steps are to teach you how to open your mind, because we're not used to thinking holistically or on a quantum level. And so step 9 is going to teach you how to use a conceptual tool that I call the Nubby Ball. And I'm going to teach you how to use it so that you can perceive more of the whole of reality and start expanding your consciousness. Step 8 is introducing you to technologies. So technologies that you didn't know were technologies, like grounding and earthing and meditation and positive affirmations and all the things that you can be doing to just start relieving some of that stress, because we've all been stressed by world conditions, or what we're taught is going on in the world. If you're watching any mainstream media, news reporting, you're probably scared out of your wits right now. And so you need to move past that to get yourself back to a calm place. Self-hypnosis also works really well. And then the step after that, oh yeah, also in step 9, you also learn how to do light shadow work, because we've all got a shadow and we need to face it. That's part of our evolution. So then getting on to step 8 is the technologies, including orgone generators. Now, both Chris and I have the alien implant remedy kits, because we found that we're also being held back because we've been tinkered with. And so we've got technologies that we didn't ask for and that don't belong to us. And so we need to remove some of those technologies. And that even includes today with the transhumanism and the Morgellons and the chemicals that are in our air and water that are trying to change us into something else. And as Chris mentioned right from the beginning, to help reduce our empathy and our love and our compassion for each other. So that is another thing you may want to look at. And then there's also male-female integration. We hold both energies, and we have to be able to anchor in the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Then we move into detoxification, and that's huge. I'm not going to get into it, but you need to learn how to stop being a tool of the construct. And we're using all these chemicals, and we have all these chemicals in our food, and they're poisoning us, and they're shutting us down from our higher potential. And then you also need to learn how to detoxify from the construct. And then the last 3 steps, which are steps 3, 2, and 1, I know I do it in descending order, are ways that you can learn how to find your superpowers. Let's just leave it at that, your superpowers. You've got them, and it's time to pull them out and start using them, and boy, you're going to love it. So it's a completely free program, and again, the links are in the description box below, and it's a great place to get started and a great place to help you to be able to clean up the temple so you can hold the frequency, so that you can hold the frequency for direct communication. And this is not going to happen overnight, and you have to want it, because you're going to have to make some sacrifices, but you're worth it, and you can do it. I've done it and continue to do it. Chris is doing it. There's millions of us. A lot of people just didn't know where to start. What's our starting point? Where do we go? What do we do? And that's why Chris and I are having this show.
I hate to interrupt you, Karen, but I just have to say that I think a lot of the starting point has to do with our health these days because of the toxins, the outside things that we're bombarded with, the food we eat every day. And I found a huge change in my life just after I started taking more care of that, just a little more care, taking the C60, not eating as much of the processed crap that we have, and just trying to live a more healthy lifestyle. And I found that the power of our thoughts and thought processes and the way we feel and our emotions have a huge impact on our health. And the more positive outlook we can have, the better it will be for our health. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, I totally agree. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. And the other thing I want to say, what really is the crux of the nub of the nubby nub, I'll tell you right now, is self-love. How can we have compassion for others when we don't have compassion for ourselves? How can we love other people when we don't know how to love ourselves? And so we need to grow up, because the construct has kept us like little ignorant children. And we need to grow up, and we need to take control of our own lives, embrace our sovereignty, and start by being a parent to ourselves. And in that way, we open ourselves up to immense rewards. I mean, there's a reason why we call the show Forbidden Transformation. This information is forbidden, and it's going to transform the whole world. How exciting is that? You can be a part, you can join us.
Definitely. I mean, that's the key. It's just getting in touch with your own powers, empowering yourself so that, I mean, it starts with you, and it's actually contagious. It works outward. If other people see how happy and how good you're doing in your life, they want the same thing. And in turn, they start to do some of the things that you're doing to get there. And it can spread like wildfire. I think that's what needs to happen, is just this new movement of people that are fed up with the bullshit on our planet and want to take it back for themselves, and not told how to take care of themselves, not told what to eat. Our medical system it's a mafia. It's not anything that is out for your actual health care. They're there to make money. They're there to keep you sick. They're there to prescribe you medicines to keep you coming back and make you sicker. So you can't rely on that for your health, unfortunately. You've always been taught to rely on doctors and our medical system to help you get better. And I'm not saying don't go to a doctor. I'm not saying if you break your leg, don't go to the hospital. These things. I'm just saying that we have more control over our health than we're told, that we don't need some of these things that we're told we do need from the time we're born, so that we can be healthy human beings. All we need is our own. We were equipped from birth with this body to take care of everything we need, but we lost access to it. We lost access to the knowledge of how to turn that on, and how to access those properties that have been locked up. But they're there, and as long as they're locked up, the medical industry and the powers in control are going to keep us down and keep us there. So it's up to us to unlock it ourselves.
I agree 100%. So be aware of the double speak. They call it a healthcare system. It's not. It's a disease management system. They're going to tell you there's a justice system. No, it's not. It's a legal system. It is not just. There's nothing just about it. And so be aware of double speak and where the pitfalls lie, because the power's in you.
Yes, 100%. We have, where else are we going with today? Do we have anything else to mention?
Well, we've got our downloads, and then we've just got a little bit of information at the end, and that's it. So how would you like to proceed, Chris?
Well, let me see if we don't have any more questions. I want to thank all the audience for joining us today. And like Karen said, this is going to be bi-weekly, and we're gonna bring you not only the information that we receive, but we want you to interact with us. We want you to ask us questions to help yourself understand and give us input. If you have information, share the information with us. Send me an email, send Karen an email. We're very busy, like she said. We might not be able to respond to everyone, but we're going to read them. We're going to, and if we feel we need to take it further, we'll contact you. But we definitely want to hear from you. We want you to interact with the show, and any questions you have, just leave them in the chat. And the only other information that I'd like to kind of leave us with today is that we can't look towards, I don't think we can look towards a global leader to change anything. I don't think an election season is going to make anything any better. I think that no matter what the outcome is of this upcoming election, it's going to be not good. And we're going to see things in our very near future that we've only heard about, and it's going to terrify a lot of people who aren't ready for this, who aren't paying attention to this, because things are on a very quick downhill slope. And that's why we're doing this show, because we felt that it was a very important time to come out with basically the formula to change things from starting with yourself. Now, I don't claim to have all the answers. I know I don't. I have a lot more insight into myself than I did before, and I can share what works for me and what's working for me. And hopefully it'll give you insight to do some of the things that'll work for you. And then in turn, you can do some things that might work for someone else.
Exactly. So, sorry.
The main message that I wanted to leave everyone with.
It's a good message, and I concur, absolutely. Together, there's nothing we can't do. So let's get started. So Chris and I have some downloads, and like I said, there's some good news and some bad news. And, we'd love to just tell you what you want to hear, but that's not why we're here. We're going to share what we're meant to share, what we've been asked to share. And so we're gonna do that. And I'm wondering, Chris, do you feel like covering your information first?
Well, I said a little bit about what the information I received, but basically this is what I'll say. We're in big trouble, and it's happening fast. If you haven't noticed, our country is completely different than it was a year ago. If you've been in a coma for a year and you opened your eyes right now, you wouldn't know what the hell is going on. Our freedoms are being taken away from us faster and faster every day. But I do see some encouragement with people waking up to this. But this is, like I said, in-game, and many people don't realize how dire this situation is and how fast things are happening behind the scenes. Very soon, we may not be here. Like, me and Karen may not be able to present this information to you online because of the extreme censorship that is coming down the pipe. It's coming very fast. I may not have a channel soon. Karen may not have a channel soon. We may not have any way to share this information. We may have to find a brand new way to share information, and it may not come quick. So we need to get this out very fast, and we need to start making changes very fast, and the changes has to come from an individual basis. And the change is, we need to open up people's eyes. We need to let them know that this is occurring, that we are in trouble, and they need to stand up to some of this nonsense that's occurring right now. You need to question the system. If you feel like something is wrong, if you feel like they're asking you to do something that isn't right, don't do it. Don't just go along with everything the media is telling you to do, because the media is the enemy. I know that wholeheartedly right now, that our media, our government, they are not your friend. They're not looking out for you. They are the enemy, especially right now with everything that they're doing. This is a massive psychological warfare campaign, but it's also the new war. This is World War III that we're in right now. It's a war against humanity. It's a war against the people. They want to extinguish a good portion of humanity so they can easily control it. And that's the plan, unfortunately. And it's unfolding. We need to do something about it right now, because we will be on. If you think you're on a prison planet now, just wait. If you don't do anything, you will be on a prison planet. You'll know exactly what it's like to be on a prison planet, because you'll see it every day when you open your eyes in the morning and before you go to bed. So that's my most urgent download that I think I need to present this week, is the dire need for us to turn this around and do something and stand up. And it's great that people are sharing information and opening up their eyes, but it is time for action at this point. It's time to kind of stand up against it. And we need to do that in any way we can. And I think the best way is to talk about it right now and let other people know. And be open-minded. And hopefully that'll be contagious. And that was the information that I felt most critical for today.
Very good, very well said too. I'm going to read mine because I don't want to go off on, I tend to go down what I call rabbit holes, and to keep it concise. So this is my download that I was asked to share. Watch what you wish for. What do you spend your time thinking about? We create what we focus on. The current mess of this world is actually our doing because of our thoughts and our fears, but we also hold the cure. Similar to the situation on the show Planet of the Apes, humans are viewed by the elites the same way as the apes viewed the humans in that show. So if you haven't seen Planet of the Apes, probably want to. We are marked as expendable crew members here on planet Earth. Our minds are so cluttered with fear and loathing that we project more of this onto the world. My guides tell me that our time left on Earth is very short. We must act now. We are facing genocide. And so I mentioned that I went to university. Well, I spent 5 years at college and university, and I studied the various ways that the Canadian government executed their plan of genocide upon the First Nations people. And now I see them using the same tactics on all of us today. So I live in Canada. Chris lives in the United States, but I'm seeing the same things going on and the same terrible psychological maneuvers on us to exploit us and to bring us down. But the deceivers have unwittingly united us. Our survival depends on we the people to recognize that we are all in the same boat. Black or white, rich or poor, famous or ordinary. It's time for unity consciousness. This will launch and add momentum to the new positive timeline. Yes, we can create, we can build, and we can maintain a new positive timeline. That's how powerful we are. And as a special note, my guides also wanted me to mention that just as alcohol was given to the indigenous peoples to undermine their health and their culture, the same is true for us today. So we have to address our addiction issues, and we have to, we have a plan that will actually help you with your recovery. And so that's another reason to do the Quantum Health Transformation Program, and we will also help you as you detox from your addictions. And addictions aren't just alcohol. It can be our phones. It can be all kinds of things, but we need to identify them and we need to start dealing with them because those are distracting us from the work, from our higher calling. I'm not saying you can't drink alcohol. That's not my point. But isn't it amazing during all these lockdowns and all the businesses that have collapsed, one thing that's doing a booming business here in Canada are the liquor stores. Isn't that interesting? So, Florence and Joe down the street can't run their business, but all the liquor stores are open. So just pay attention to that, folks. Like, we're not going to ever tell you what you have to do or what you don't have to do, but this is how it was given to me to pass on that information to you. And so basically, Chris and I are saying very similar things, 2 different ways. And stay tuned for more. So share the show with your friends, with your family. Encourage them to get involved. Encourage them to want to see something different. Encourage them to want to create. Be with us. Help us to create paradise on earth. It's not too late, especially because we the people, we have the power. We have the power. We can do it.
Yeah, very well said. And like she said, we have the power to come together and do this. We are creator beings. We can create our own reality. We can manifest our own reality. But we just kind of were told we couldn't, so we stopped doing it. We need to start it again. And everyone here has the power to do that. And Karen, thanks again for putting this all together. Everyone, check out all the links we have in the description. Check out C60, visit Forbidden Knowledge News, check out some of the newest shows we got there. If you'd like to donate to help us out, the links are also in the description. And we will again see you in 2 weeks. And if you would like to arrange any time with me and Karen, just click that link that we have left for you there. Thanks again, everyone, for spending time with us today. And I hope the information was helpful for all.
I agree. I just want to quickly add that our next show is episode 2 is called The Zen Apocalypse. So it's how can you navigate your way through this craziness and maintain your Zen, your peace, your sanity, your health. And that's going to air September 13th, again at 12 noon Pacific, 1 o'clock Mountain and 2 o'clock Central Time. And again on this YouTube channel. And all of the links, as Chris mentioned, and the information about our services will be in the description box below. And if you would like to contact us regarding the Forbidden Transformation Show, we have a new email. It is forbiddentransformation@gmail.com. So until next time, Chris and I wish you light, love, and happiness. And we're just really looking forward to going forward and including you folks in this process with us. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah.